Hello students. So now we will see the kinetic molecular theory of gases. Okay. So we were discussing the laws of gases, that is Boyle's law, Charles' law, Avogadro's law, and then we studied the partial pressure, Dalton's law of partial pressure, and then now we will come to the kinetic molecular theory of gases. Okay. So when we talk about kinetic molecular theory of gases, there are certain assumptions that are there in the kinetic molecular theory. Okay. Now the assumptions, first we will see the assumptions or the postulates, and then we will move on to is all the gases behaves ideally, or they will deviate from the ideal behavior. That means is real gases are there, or all the gases are ideal in behavior. That we will see. Okay. Now the first assumption is in the kinetic molecular theory of gases, first the gases are considered as point masses. See, the gases are moving around with a lot of space between them. That is, no intermolecular space of attraction is very, very weak in gases, that we know. So, and that assumption, taking into that assumption, they are saying gases are considered as point masses. So they are very, very small molecules, right? They are very, very small molecules, and they are far apart, isn't it? They are far apart, and that actual volume is negligible in comparison to the empty space. Which means, if you consider a box or a vessel in which we are putting some gas, what happens? The assumption is that these gas molecules are very, very small, very, very small, which means the volume occupied by that gases is negligible when compared to the total volume of the container. And this is the assumption which is illustrating that the compressibility of the gases. We know that the gases are compressible, isn't it? LPG, liquefied petroleum gas. So the gases can be compressed into liquid. So that is the main reason, and that postulates weight for this. That is, this is on the assumption that why we can have gases compressible, because we say that the intermolecular force of attractions are very weak and the gas molecules are far apart from each other, isn't it? So that is the first assumption. That means the gases are considered as point masses. That means they are considered as very, very small, and they are far apart from each other, so that what happens? The actual volume is negligible. Actual volume of what? Actual volume of the molecule is negligible in comparison to the empty space. Correct? Okay. Now the second is the force of attraction between ordinary temperature and pressure is nil. The kinetic molecular theory of gases states that there is no force of attraction between the gas molecules at ordinary temperature and pressure. And the validation of this assumption is that we know the gases expand. Is it? Why we say gases expands? Because we are on the assumption that there is no force of attraction between the gas molecules. Because when we studied about solids, liquids and gases, we say that solids there is very intermolecular force of attraction, strong force of attraction. Liquids, the force of attraction is very, very less when compared to solids. But on gases, there is no force of attraction between the molecules, isn't it? That's what we have studied so long. Well, all these years we have studied on the assumption that there is no force of attraction between the gas molecules. Okay. And based on this assumption, the validation is what? The gas can expand easily. That is the reason why we are saying the gases can expand easily. Okay. Now the third assumption is the particles of the gases are always in a random motion, isn't it? When we draw the picture also, we will say they are all in random motion, isn't it? If it was in a state of rest, we will say that the gases occupy position or space, isn't it? But we say that the gases have no fixed position, isn't it? Space or mass. So that is on the validation of that point. That means the particles of gases are always in a random motion. Correct? And the fourth assumption is the particles of gases moves in all possible directions in straight lines. Okay, so the particles in if you maybe imagine gas molecules in a container of volume V, we are imagining that then we can say in that gas particles are always moving in straight lines. Always moving in straight lines. So when it moves in straight lines, what happens? One gas molecules can collide with other molecules, isn't it? Collision happens, isn't it? So what happens? The pressure will exert on the walls of the container. So what happens? In this collision of these gas molecules, what happens? The gases will come and collide with the walls of the container, isn't it? Walls of the container, thereby exerting the pressure to the walls of the container. Correct? So that is the fourth assumption. That is, it moves in all possible directions in straight lines. Correct? Now the fifth assumption is, I have told you that collisions occur when these gas molecules are moving in a straight line. Correct? So one gas molecule will collide with other, again another gas molecule will collide with the other thing. So collisions were happening in that particular scenario. Now, then coming about the collisions, all these collisions are elastic in nature. What do you mean by elastic collisions? Elastic collisions means, for example, if a molecule has got some energy, when it collides with the other molecule, what happens? It will give out some energy to the other molecule, thereby this molecule will decrease in energy. So in collisions, exchange of energy takes place. That is the point. What happens? Exchange of energy takes place in collisions. Okay. Now what will be elastic collision? So when you average out this energy of the total energy in that system or in that container, the total energy will remains the constant. Why? Because the energy given to some molecule, in that case the energy here is decreased. So the total energy of all the molecules, when you consider, that is a constant, because the total, that is why it is called as an elastic collision. Correct? Now the sixth assumption or the postulate is, at any given point of time, for example, you are considering a gas molecule in a vessel of having a volume V. Now at that time, at any given point of the time, different particles have different speeds, isn't it? We can't say that all the particles are moving in same speed in that container. No, it can't happen. So every molecule has got its own speed, its own velocity. Now what does that mean? If different particles are moving with different speeds or different velocity, then we can say that these molecules have got different kinetic energies, isn't it? What is kinetic energy? Kinetic energy is equal to half m v square, isn't it? Half m v square. So if the velocity is, we are not taking mass because we are assuming that they are point masses. So mass negligible. So mass we are not considering. So then the case is velocity. If the velocity changes, different speeds are there for different gas molecules, then we can say that the molecules, different molecules have different kinetic energy. Clear? And the last assumption is, if molecule has got variable speed, we know that. We said molecules has got different speeds, which means different velocity, that means different kinetic energy. Now, if we are considering a container having a volume V and the gas molecules are there in it. Now, if you say that all these gas molecules are moving in random directions in straight lines and colliding with each other, they are having different speeds and different velocities and hence different kinetic energy. So, in that case or in that scenario, we cannot say the kinetic energy of a single molecule, isn't it? If you want to have a comparison of the kinetic energy or an understanding of the kinetic energy, you have to take the average kinetic energy of all the gas molecules, isn't it? Because why? The speed is not constant. Different gas molecules are moving with different speeds and hence different velocities and hence different kinetic energies. So we can say that all the molecules have got different kinetic energy. So you can't take kinetic energy for a single molecule. You have to consider the average kinetic energy in such a situation. Correct? In a gas containing volume V or a container of gas molecules. So in that case, there is a concept that the average kinetic energy of the gas molecule must be directly proportional to the absolute temperature. That is again an important postulate. What is it? The average kinetic energy of gas molecules in a container having a volume V is directly proportional to its absolute temperature. That is capital T. Okay, so these are the assumptions which made by the kinetic molecular theory, which was 100% right for the gas laws. That is, it will obey the gas laws, Boyle's law, Charles' law, Avogadro's law. All these laws are in concern with this, and it follows this kinetic molecular theory of gases. So this was the assumption of this kinetic molecular theory of gases. Okay. Now our question is all the gases ideal? We say that the ideal gas equation or state of equation is PV is equal to nRT. That equation PV is equal to nRT stands for an ideal gas at STP, standard temperature and pressure. We say the standard temperature is 0 degree Kelvin or 273 Kelvin or 0 degree Celsius, isn't it? And the standard pressure is 1 bar or 10 raised to 5 Pascal. So we all discussed that. And now the question before us is what? That is all the gases ideal, or is the gases we are seeing, like for example carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, hydrogen, methane, are all these gases behaves ideally or they will deviate from the ideal behavior? So that is our next concern. That is why these experiments are done, and based on the experimental observations, so many scientists has come to the conclusion that if these gases, that is our day to day, we are seeing gases like hydrogen, helium, neon, then carbon monoxide, methane, carbon dioxide, oxygen, nitrogen, etc. All these gases, when they put into account of all these Boyle's law and Charles' law, what happened? They got a graph which shows that these gases does not behave ideally under all conditions, or under normal conditions. All these gases which we come across in our surroundings does not behave ideally, or we can say in all these gases PV is not equal to nRT. So why that happens, or what is the reason behind why all these gases does not behave ideally? For that reason we call that gases to be real gases. Now what is the reason behind these gases which are behaving real or not ideal? Why or where it went wrong? Okay, for that reasons now we come across with why this ideal gases deviates from, or real gases deviates from its ideal behavior. Okay, but this experimental observation shows that all the gases, no gases are ideal, hypothetical, only hypothetical is there. PV is equal to nRT. That is only a hypothetical situation, that is no gas is ideal. All gases are real, or all gases deviates from its ideal behavior. So in that case, experiments proves that, see, when we say that Boyle's law, or when we took Boyle's law and we plot a graph against PV by P, isn't it? P into V by P, we got a straight line for the ideal gases. But when it makes into the real gases, see, according to the Boyle's law, PV versus P. In the case of ideal gases, what happens? We get a straight line, isn't it? We get a straight line for the ideal gases. But in the gases like hydrogen or helium, etc., what happens? Hydrogen, helium. Then again some more gases like carbon monoxide, then again some more gases, carbon monoxide, methane, etc. This type of gases appears. See, actually we studied according to Boyle's law, Charles' law, etc. If we plot a graph against a PV by P, this is Boyle's law. P is inversely proportional to V at constant temperature. So at constant temperature, when we have plotted a graph for gases like hydrogen, helium, carbon monoxide, methane, etc., the graph which we got is like this, which means ideal gases, it is getting a straight line. See, for the ideal gases, they are getting a straight line. But for gases like hydrogen or helium, see a straight line above this ideal gas, that we call it as a positive deviation. What is it? Above the ideal gas, the graph goes, then you can say it is a positive deviation. And if it is below this ideal gas, we can call it as a negative deviation. So there are two types of curve in this graph. See, please listen carefully. There are two types of graph. One is what? One is a positive deviation graph. That is the straight line graph. As the pressure is increasing, the PV is also increasing, isn't it? For hydrogen and helium, see, for hydrogen and helium, as the pressure increases, the PV also increases from the straight line. This is helium and this is hydrogen. Which means that it has a positive deviation. That's the first type of curve. Now, what about the second type of curve? Second type of curve is as the pressure increases, the PV decreases, see, and reaches a minimum. In this carbon monoxide, this is the minimum, and in methane, this is the minimum. So, in the second type of curve, what happens is, as the pressure is increased, the PV decreases. That means that you call it as a negative deviation. That is, if a curve is going straight above the ideal gas thing, you call it as positive deviation. If it is below the ideal gas thing, you call it as a negative deviation. Correct? Now what happens? For carbon monoxide and methane gases, the first, as the pressure is increased, the PV decreases and reaches a minimum. Then what happens? It increases, and what happens? It goes beyond this ideal gas. That means positive deviation happens. Correct. So this type of gases we can see in PV versus P, that is Boyle's law. When we plot the Boyle's law, experimental data and the calculated data, which says that this is the ideality and all other are the real gases curve, showing a positive deviation as well as a negative deviation. So which means what? The real gases does not obey ideal gas law at all temperature and pressure, or normal temperature and pressure, or at ordinary temperature and pressure. The real gases does not obey this ideal gas equation, which is equal to PV is equal to nRT. That is a conclusion, isn't it? Now again it can be stated with one more graph. This is one graph which states that the real gases are not behaving ideally, or there is a deviation from the ideal behavior for a real gases. Now again in another graph which we can show, like we have drawn two graphs in Boyle's law, right? P versus V and PV versus P. In this case, in P versus V, we get straight line in the Boyle's law. But what happens in the case? See, in this case, the experimental data and the calculated value, if it was ideal, see listen, if we plot pressure versus volume graph, if all the gases if behaves ideally, then what should happen? There must be only one curve, isn't it? One curve. So you should have got like this. See, this should be the one curve. But what happened? When we plotted the graph for the real gas, it comes like this. See? It comes like this, which means that this is real gas and this is for the ideal gas. See, two graphs are obtained which shows that real gases deviate from the ideal behavior. Isn't it? The graph is showing that because there are two graphs. If the calculated data and the experimental values were same, that is, if all the gases are ideal, then there should have been only one graph. But when we plot the graph against P and V for the real gases and ideal gases, that is the experimental data, theoretically, ideally speaking, this is the graph. But calculating the real values, we get this graph, which shows that there is a deviation from the ideal behavior. And see, at this point, these two graphs coincide, isn't it? These two graphs coincide, which means what? At this point, that means at low pressure, see, the pressure is very, very low. See, at low pressure, what happens? The real gases behaves ideally. Very, very important. The real gases behaves ideally at low pressure. See, very important. So at low pressure, the reason we will see in the next session. Okay, that is why at low pressure these real gases will behave ideally. That is what I told you, that these real gases does not behave ideally at the ordinary temperature and pressure or at all temperature and pressure. At particular pressure and temperature, we can make this real gas behaves ideally. And what is that pressure? That is very low pressure. At very low pressure, at constant temperature, the real gases behaves ideally, not the point. Okay, so that is this graph is pointing out that. Clear? So two graphs we plotted, PV against P, ideal gases straight line, the real gases positive and negative deviation. Second is P versus B. These two we taken from the Boyle's law. But that means an ideal situation. That is why from Boyle's law, Charles law and Avogadro's law we are taking the gas equation, isn't it? PV is equal to nRT, ideal gas equation. But at some point of time, where the pressure is very low, what happens? The real gases behaves ideally. So hope you understood this. Okay. Now we will see what is the cause or what is the reason why these real gases does not behave Boyle's law, Charles law, Avogadro's law, etc. at this temperature and pressure. Or why the real gases are deviating from the ideal behavior. Okay. The main two reason is the two postulates what we have described in the first session. At the first, we have discussed some postulates regarding the kinetic molecular theory of gases. The first postulates we said is there is no force of attraction between the molecules. See, there is no force of attraction between the molecules that we have studied as the fifth or fourth postulates, isn't it? Now listen, what happens when there is no force of attraction between the molecules? Can we liquefy them? We know that we can compress the gas and liquefy. Why we are saying that? We say that when we compress it, the molecules will come together and there will be a force of attraction between them. Thereby, it comes into a liquid state, isn't it? That means it doesn't mean that there is no force of attraction between the gas molecules. There is force of attraction between the gas molecules, but it is very little. But the assumption was, we says that, the postulate says that the molecule. That was the first assumption which was said to be wrong. That is why the real gases are deviating from the ideal behavior. That means we have to take into consideration of the intermolecular force of attraction between the gases. To say it in a simple word, okay, we can say we have to take the intermolecular force of attraction between the gases and we cannot exclude the intermolecular force of attraction, or that assumption was wrong. That means if we say that there is no force of attraction between the molecules, the validation is we cannot liquefy it or we cannot compress it. Because there is no intermolecular force of attraction. Where will you take that gas molecules and put it together? Isn't it? If there is no intermolecular force of attraction. So that assumption went wrong and we are getting into a new assumption that there is an intermolecular force of attraction. Isn't it? And the validation for that point is what? We can compress the gas into liquid. As long as there is an intermolecular force of attraction, we are compressing, that is, we are getting more and more intermolecular force of attraction in liquid. That is why we are able to compress it. So that was the first assumption which went wrong. That is, there is no force of attraction between the gas molecules. And the second point is the volume of the molecule of gas. What we consider, the first assumption, what we considered, we are neglecting that volume. I told you, we are assuming a container of volume V and gas molecules are there in it. And we said that the gas molecules are point masses, isn't it? So we are considering the volume of that gas molecules are negligible in comparison to the total volume of the container. Suppose if V is the volume of container, we are taking V itself as the volume of the gas also. which means that there is no volume of gas as such. We are taking the volume of the container as such as V, and we are on the assumption that there is no volume for gases, or we are on the assumption that the molecules of the gases in the volume are negligible or zero. So that assumption also comes to be wrong. Why? Because see, the problem is, now we know that when the gases comes closer to each other, this we can account in two ways. That is, there is intermolecular force of attraction, attractive forces as well as the repulsive forces. Okay, now we will come into that. That is why these two assumptions went wrong. First is, there is no force of attraction between the molecules, and second is, the volume of the molecule of the gases is negligibly small when compared to the total volume of the occupied by the gas, isn't it? To the space occupied, the volume occupied by the gas. So these two assumptions went wrong, and we are now correcting that assumption. How you will correct that assumption? As we said, now we know that the molecules or the gas molecules have very weak intermolecular force of attraction, or they are having intermolecular some intermolecular force of attraction. Now what happens? Listen very carefully. Assuming that we have a container of volume B and gas molecules are there in it, and these gas molecules are moving in straight lines and having collisions and all that. Now imagine we are saying these gas molecules have some intermolecular force of attraction. Okay, our assumption was no force of attraction. But see, when these molecules are randomly moving, now when these molecules come closer for collision, or closer for when they are come and move closer, what happens? When these gas molecules come closer and closer, what happens? There is a force of attraction happening there, isn't it? There is a force of attraction happening between these molecules. Then what happens? See, we said that these molecules will collide at the walls of the container, isn't it? The pressure exerted by the walls of the container, thereby a pressure is exerted at the walls of the container. Okay, if that pressure be, for example, I will draw it and tell you. I will draw. That means, suppose if you have a container having a volume V at a constant temperature, gas molecules are there. Okay. Now our assumption was what? There is no force of attraction, but we are telling there is an intermolecular force of attraction. How we are going to prove that? That means, see, we are telling all other assumptions are okay, like the molecules will come closer with each other, isn't it? So based on the former assumption, we said that these gas molecules will go and hit these walls of the container, and a pressure is exerted on the walls of a container, isn't it? If we are saying that gas is ideal, we are assuming that this gas is ideal, then if I say P ideal is the pressure exerting in the walls of the container of this gas, correct? But now what you are telling, now we are saying the real thing, why this deviating from the ideal behavior. Now we are supposing that there is force of attraction, that means real gases. Now what happens? See, I will take one example. If these two gas molecules are coming together, see, these two molecules are coming together, and then here they come at this space. See, there is intermolecular force of attraction, correct? Now what will happen? Then this molecule, if this molecule want to hit at the walls of the container, if these molecules want to hit the molecules of container, it won't hit at this pressure. What happens? Some molecules will be attracting it or pulling it backwards by hitting the walls of the container. മനസ്സിലായോ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ നോക്കിയേ, ഇപ്പം ഈ സാധാരണ നമ്മൾ എന്താ പറയുക, നമ്മൾ ഐഡിയലി പറഞ്ഞാൽ നമ്മൾ പറയും ഗ്യാസ് മോളിക്യൂൾസ് നേരെ പോയി എന്ത് ചെയ്യും, ആ കണ്ടെയ്നറിൽ ഇപ്പോൾ ഹിറ്റ് ചെയ്യും ആൻഡ് ഒരു പ്രഷർ അവിടെ എക്സേർട്ട് ചെയ്യും. ആ പ്രഷറെ നമ്മൾ പി ഐഡിയൽ എന്ന് പറയും. നൗ ഈ റിയൽ ഗ്യാസ് ആകുമ്പോൾ എന്ത് പറ്റും, അത്രയും പ്രഷറിൽ പോയി കണ്ടെയ്നറിന്റെ വാൾസിൽ ഹിറ്റ് ചെയ്യത്തില്ല. കാരണം എന്താ, ഹിറ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ പോകുമ്പോഴത്തേക്കും വേറെ മോളിക്യൂൾസ് ഉണ്ടല്ലോ, ആ മോളിക്യൂൾസ് എന്ത് ചെയ്യും, അതിനെ അട്രാക്ട് ചെയ്യും. ഈ ഹിറ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ പോകുന്ന മോളിക്യൂൾസിനെ എന്ത് ചെയ്യും, അട്രാക്ട് ചെയ്യും, പുൾ ബാക്ക് ചെയ്യും. അപ്പൊ എന്ത് പറ്റും, ആ ഹിറ്റ് ചെയ്യേണ്ട പ്രഷറിൽ ഈ ഹിറ്റ് ഇപ്പൊ പി ഐഡിയലാണ് ഹിറ്റ് ചെയ്യേണ്ടതെങ്കിൽ അത്രയും പ്രഷറിൽ ഹിറ്റ് ചെയ്യുവോ, ഇല്ല. കാരണം എന്താ, ഈ മോളിക്യൂളിനെ ആരും പുറകോട്ട് വലിക്കുകയാണ്, വേറെ മോളിക്യൂള്, ബിക്കോസ് ഓഫ് ദ ഇന്റർമോളിക്കുലർ ഫോഴ്സ് ഓഫ് അട്രാക്ഷൻ. അവിടെ ഒരു അട്രാക്റ്റീവ് ഫോഴ്സ് വന്നു രണ്ട് മോളിക്യൂൾ തമ്മിൽ അടുത്തപ്പോഴത്തേക്കും, when they come closer. അപ്പം ഈ ഹിറ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ പോണ മോളിക്യൂളിനെ ആരോ പുറകോട്ട് വലിച്ചു, എന്നാലും അത് ഹിറ്റ് ചെയ്യും, ബിക്കോസ് ദേ ആർ മൂവിങ് ഇൻ എ റാൻഡം ഇൻ എ കോൺസ്റ്റന്റ് സ്പീഡ് അറ്റ് സ്ട്രെയിറ്റ് ലൈൻ. അപ്പൊ ആ മോളിക്യൂൾ ചെന്ന് ഹിറ്റ് ചെയ്യുമ്പോഴത്തേക്കും that pressure will be lesser than the P ideal. You got it? The real pressure, I mean the pressure of the real gas which is hitting will be lesser than the P of the ideal gas. Hope you got it. ആ കോൺസെപ്റ്റ് കിട്ടിയോ? അതായത് റിയൽ ഗ്യാസ് ഹിറ്റ് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ ഈ ഐഡിയൽ ഗ്യാസ് ഹിറ്റ് ചെയ്ത് അതേ പ്രഷറിലല്ല. കാരണം എന്താണ്, സം മോളിക്യൂൾസ് അതിനെ പുൾ ബാക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്. കാരണം which we are stating that, we are proving that there is some force of attraction between the molecules when these molecules come closer. എപ്പോഴാണ് ക്ലോസർ ആവുന്നത്? when they come and collide with each other or when they move far apart with each other. എപ്പോഴും ഗ്യാസ് മോളിക്യൂൾസ് are moving constantly. so ആ അസംപ്ഷൻ നമ്മൾ പറയും എപ്പോഴും ഗ്യാസ് മോളിക്യൂൾസ് മൂവ് ചെയ്യും. അപ്പം എന്ത് ചെയ്യും, അടുത്ത് വരാനുള്ള സാധ്യതയുണ്ട്. അടുത്ത് വരുമ്പോൾ എന്ത് പറ്റും, അതിനെ ഒരു അട്രാക്ഷൻ വരും. അട്രാക്ട് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ എന്ത് പറ്റും, നേരത്തെ പോയി ഹിറ്റ് ചെയ്ത് അത്രയും പ്രഷറിലായിരിക്കില്ല മറ്റേത് പോയി ഹിറ്റ് ചെയ്യുക, ബിക്കോസ് ദർ ഇസ് എ പുൾ ബാക്ക്വേർഡ്സ് ഡ്യൂ ടു ദ ഫോഴ്സ് ഓഫ് അട്രാക്ഷൻ. അവിടെയാണ് ഇന്റർമോളിക്കുലർ ഫോഴ്സ് ഓഫ് അട്രാക്ഷൻ ആ ഒരു അസംപ്ഷൻ തെറ്റ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. ദർ ഇസ് നോ ഫോഴ്സ് ഓഫ് അട്രാക്ഷൻ എന്ന് പറയുന്ന അസംപ്ഷൻ നമ്മൾ തിരുത്തി ദർ ഈസ് ഇന്റർമോളിക്കുലർ ഫോഴ്സ് ഓഫ് അട്രാക്ഷൻ ബിറ്റ്വീൻ ദ ഗ്യാസ് മോളിക്യൂൾസ്. നമ്മൾ എങ്ങനെ പ്രൂവ് ചെയ്യാൻ പോണേ? വി ആർ പ്രൂവിംഗ് ഇൻ എ ഡിഫറെന്റ് വേ. ഓക്കേ, ഇഫ് യു സേ ദാറ്റ് P ideal is the pressure of the ideal gas, okay, if I say P ideal is the pressure of the ideal gas, then P real is equal to P ideal minus something. ഏതോ ഒരു ക്വാണ്ടിറ്റി കുറവായിരിക്കും, ഏതോ ഒരു സംഭവം ഈസ് കുറവ് than the ideal, and that quantity we say it as n square by v square. ഇത് നിങ്ങൾ ഒരുപാട് ഇലാബറേറ്റ് ചെയ്യണ്ട. ഇങ്ങനെ ഒരു കോൺസ്റ്റന്റ് വേർ a is a constant, okay, and n square by v square, ആ ഒരു ക്വാണ്ടിറ്റി ആണ് ലെസ് ആവുക. അത്രയും കുറച്ച് മാത്രമേ ബാക്കി എന്ത് ചെയ്യത്തുള്ളൂ, പ്രഷർ അപ്ലൈ ചെയ്യത്തുള്ളൂ. കറക്റ്റ്? അത് മനസ്സിലായല്ലോ how this comes. This you don't put in your head that like that. Just study that there is some quantity less than the P real, and that quantity is what, n square a by v square, where a is a constant. എന്ന് നിങ്ങൾ മനസ്സിലാക്കുക. ഓക്കെ, ഇനി അപ്പം ഫസ്റ്റ് നമ്മൾ അസംപ്ഷൻ തിരുത്തി, ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് ദർ ഈസ് ഇന്റർമോളിക്കുലർ ഫോഴ്സ് ഓഫ് അട്രാക്ഷൻ നമ്മൾ തിരുത്തി. നൗ സെക്കൻഡ് എന്താണ്, നമ്മൾ പറഞ്ഞു ദ വോളിയം വി ആർ കൺസിഡറിംഗ് ഈസ് നെഗ്ലിജിബിൾ ഫോർ എ ഗ്യാസ് മോളിക്യൂൾ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു. ദ വോളിയം ഫോർ എ ഗ്യാസ് മോളിക്യൂൾ ഈസ് നെഗ്ലിജിബിൾ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു. ബട്ട് നോക്കിയേ, നമ്മൾ ഒരു കണ്ടെയ്നർ എടുക്കുമ്പോൾ അതിൽ നമ്മൾ പറയുകയാണ് ആ കണ്ടെയ്നറിന്റെ വോളിയം V ആണെങ്കിൽ നമ്മളൊരു ഗ്യാസ് മോളിക്യൂളിന് നമ്മൾ ഒരു ഗ്യാസ് മോളിക്യൂൾ അടുത്തും there's a repulsion taking place, right? Repulsion taking place. So in that repulsive thing, we have to assume that the volume of a molecule should be considered. The volume cannot be taken as negligible. അവിടെ നമ്മൾ പോയിന്റ് മാസ് എന്നൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞാലും ആ അസംപ്ഷൻ തെറ്റാണ്. യു ആർ ടേക്കിംഗ് ഇറ്റ് ആസ് റോങ്. ദ കറക്റ്റ് അസംപ്ഷൻ ഇസ് വാട്ട്, യു ഹാവ് ടു ടേക്ക് എ വോളിയം ഫോർ ഗ്യാസ് മോളിക്യൂൾസ്, ഫോർ ഈച്ച് ഗ്യാസ് മോളിക്യൂൾ. അപ്പൊ നമുക്ക് എന്ത് പറയാം, ആ വോളിയം എന്ന് പറയുന്ന കണ്ടെയ്നറിന്റെ വോളിയം V ആയിരിക്കുമോ? ഇല്ല. V മൈനസ് what is the total mass volume of the gas molecule, that must be the volume of the container. ശരിയല്ലേ? കാരണം if V is the volume of the container and some amount is the volume of the gas molecules inside the container, then what is the volume of the total volume? Total volume is V minus of that volume of the gas molecule. That is the second assumption. That is mainly due to the repulsive attraction. So I can say volume is equal to, volume ideal is equal to V minus of NP. Okay, V minus NP. കാരണം total volume of the container ആയിരുന്നു V. അതെപ്പോഴായിരുന്നു? We are not taking the volume of gas molecule. But if the gas molecule volume is considered, നമ്മൾ എന്ത് ചെയ്യുന്നു? NB ആണ്. What is NB? NB എന്ന് പറയുന്നതാണ് volume of the gas molecule or total volume of the gas molecule. അതാണ് NB. അപ്പോൾ അത് കുറച്ച് കഴിയുമ്പോഴാണ് നമുക്ക് total volume കിട്ടുന്നത് കണ്ടെയ്നറിൽ. Okay, so this is. അപ്പോൾ V ideal. So P ideal എങ്ങനെ എഴുതാം? P ideal is equal to P ideal എങ്ങനെ എഴുതാം? P ideal is equal to P real plus n square A by V square. ചുമ്മാ rearranging this. P ideal is equal to P real plus n square A by V square. അങ്ങനെയാണെങ്കിൽ നമുക്കറിയാം PV is equal to nRT ആണ് നമ്മളുടെ ഗ്യാസ് ഐഡിയൽ ഗ്യാസ് ഇക്വേഷൻ. നമ്മളുടെ റിയൽ ഗ്യാസ് ഇക്വേഷൻ മാറാൻ പോവാണ്. നമ്മുടെ റിയൽ ഗ്യാസ് ഇക്വേഷൻ comes to be എന്താണ്? PV is equal to nRT is the ideal gas equation. So P comes as what? P comes as P real plus n A square by V square. P will become as P real plus n A square by V square. V will become as P minus NB is equal to nRT. So this is called as van der Waals equation. What is it? Van der Waals was the scientist. So this is called as van der Waals equation of real gases. Real gases in the equation which put forward by van der Waals, and A and B are nothing but van der Waals constant. Okay, n square, not A square. N square A by V square. Okay, so A and B are called as the van der Waals constant. So this is for the real gases. P real or P plus n square by V square A into V minus NB is equal to nRT. R and T you know, universal gas constant R, and T is the absolute temperature. So you got it. Now the significance of A or the van der Waals constant of A is it represents the magnitude of the intermolecular force of attraction. Magnitude means the value. How much intermolecular force of attraction is between the gas molecules. That is refers to the van der Waals constant A. Okay. Now I will tell you one more thing. We said at low pressure the real gases and ideal gases intersect each other. You know, at very low temperature also, what happens? At very low temperature, imagine at very low temperature what happens? The intermolecular force of attraction becomes very, very significant, isn't it? At higher temperature what happens? The kinetic energy increases, therefore the intermolecular force of attraction also increases, so the molecules will be greater apart from each other. But at very low temperature what happens? This will come closer and the intermolecular force of attraction becomes significant, isn't it? At that time the molecule will travel at a very low speed or very low velocity, isn't it? That is why because at very low speed means they are having intermolecular force of attraction because the molecules are very close to each other. If the molecules are far apart, the intermolecular force of attraction is weak. But at very low temperature what happens is the speed will be very low. Why? Because the molecules are closer to each other, isn't it? No, so the real gases will show the ideal behavior when the conditions of temperature and pressure is in such a way that the intermolecular force of attraction will be practically negligible. This intermolecular force of attraction negligible ആവുമ്പോഴാണ് ആരാവുന്നത് റിയൽ ഗ്യാസസ് ഐഡിയൽ ബിഹേവിയർ ഷോ ചെയ്യുന്നത്. ശരിയല്ലേ? അപ്പം at very low pressure and very low temperature the real gases will show ideal behavior. Sorry, at very low temperature the real gases will have real behavior, isn't it? At temperature, at constant temperature and very low pressure what happens? The real gases will behave ideally. So ideally എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ എപ്പോഴാണ്? അതായത് ഏത് ടെമ്പറേച്ചറിലോ പ്രഷറിലോ ആണ് ഇന്റർമോളിക്കുലർ ഫോഴ്സസ് ഓഫ് അട്രാക്ഷൻ നെഗ്ലിജിബിൾ ആവുന്നത്. നമുക്കറിയാം നെഗ്ലിജിബിൾ ആവുമ്പോഴാണ് നമ്മൾ ഐഡിയൽ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. ഇഫ് ദർ ഇസ് നോ ഫോഴ്സ് ഓഫ് അട്രാക്ഷൻ ദെൻ ദ ഗ്യാസസ് ബിഹേവ്സ് ഐഡിയലി. പക്ഷേ നമ്മുടെ റിയൽ ഗ്യാസസ് എപ്പോഴാണ് പറയുക? നമ്മൾ ആ അസംപ്ഷൻ തിരുത്തിയതാണ്. ഹൗ ദർ ഈസ് ഇന്റർമോളിക്കുലർ ഫോഴ്സ് ഓഫ് അട്രാക്ഷൻ. അപ്പം അറ്റ് ദാറ്റ് പെർട്ടിക്കുലർ ടെമ്പറേച്ചർ ആൻഡ് പ്രഷർ where the gases will have intermolecular force of attraction, then the gas behaves real, and when the intermolecular force of attraction is negligible, then the gases behaves ideal. മനസ്സിലായില്ലേ? അപ്പം ഇതാണ് നമ്മൾ ഐഡിയൽ ബിഹേവിയർ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. കറക്റ്റ്. Okay, so this is how you go for the ideal behavior. Okay, or the answer for why all gases are real or it deviates from its ideal behavior. Clear? It's very simple. That is, it's only theory, right? Okay. Now there is one more point to be taken. That is, we can also say the real gases by another equation. The behavior of real gases by another equation like Z is equal to PV by nRT. Don't go into the details of this equation. This equation you study as such, where Z is called as the compressibility factor. What is it? Just study like that. Okay, compressibility factor. Compressibility factor. Or we can say if Z is equal to 1, Z is equal to 1, you can say PV is equal to nRT, isn't it? If Z is equal to 1, we can say PV is equal to nRT. So this will come here. If Z is equal to 1, PV is equal to nRT. Which means what? If Z is equal to 1, the gases behaves ideally, isn't it? The gases behaves ideally. Okay. Now, if you want to plot a graph, see, in your textbook it is given. If you are plotting a graph against Z against P, Z is what? Z is PV by nRT, compressibility factor, against the pressure. Pressure is bar. Okay. When we do that, we get a straight line for ideal gas. The same graph we got here also. The graph which we have studied earlier. That means if you plot the compressibility factor Z is what? Z is a compressibility factor. When we plot the compressibility factor against the pressure, we got the same type of graph for the real gases and ideal gases. We got a straight line for an ideal gas and we have got a positive deviation for and negative deviation for some other gases. See? For nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen, helium, see? All this. So these type of curves you got in this. For example, carbon dioxide, etc. Now you know what is the implications in this graph, or what are the two types of curves. One is positive deviation and other is a negative deviation. See, if the pressure is increasing. Now at very low pressure, see, at this pressure, when pressure is at 0, the pressure is at 0 or very low pressure, if you say 200 bar, 400, 600, 800. So when the pressure is very low, we can say and we have studied also that all gases behaves ideally. See, at this point. At this point we can say all the gases behaves ideally. When the pressure is increased, then it deviates into real gas, or it deviates the ideal behavior and forms into real gases, isn't it? So if Z is greater than 1 or high pressure, if Z is greater than 1, we can say the gases behaves as real. Isn't it? The gases behaves as real. That means high pressure. High pressure, the gases behaves as real. And if Z is less than 1, if Z is less than 1, this is 1, isn't it? This is 1 because ideal gas. Z is equal to 1 means ideal gas. If Z is greater than 1, it behaves real or positive deviation. If Z is less than 1, what happens? What happens to that? In that case, the gases shows ideal behavior. Because the pressure is, what happens? The pressure is low, isn't it? When it is less than 1, if the pressure is low, what happens? The volume is large, or you have to take the consideration of this volume. The volume cannot be negligible for the gas. That is it. So this is a negative deviation and this is a positive deviation. Okay, so that is why. And now we have to study about this at some particular temperature. And that temperature is called as boil temperature, where real gases behaves ideally over a range of temperature. Or you can say the temperature at which a real gases behaves ideally is called, and that particular temperature is called as boil temperature. What is it? Boil temperature. Okay, so what is boil temperature? Boil temperature is a temperature at which a real gases obeys what? Obeys ideal gas law over an appreciable range of pressure is called as boil temperature. So what is again boil temperature? Boil temperature is that particular temperature in which the real gases obeys the ideal gas law. That is the Boyle's law, Charles' law, Avogadro's law over a range of pressure is called as Boyle's temperature. Okay. So this is enough for you. And next is liquefaction of gases. Liquefaction of gases is a deleted chapter. So I think by this we have come to the end of this chapter. That is which chapter? The states of matter. So you can start doing the exercises. Okay. So here the chapter is over. So please do the exercises at the end of the end of the textbook as well as the in-text question. If any doubt, just give me a call.